Renewed Mind Revolution Podcast. A place that empowers, encourages, and informs. We're breaking through, we're rising strong. A brand new mindset where we belong. Empowered voices, hearts aligned. Encouraging truth, renewed in mind. It's the revolution. Let your spirit soar. We're here to lift you, give you so much more. Encourage and power, informed with love. A renewed mind journey, grace from above. Stepping in the purpose of wisdom lead, planting the seeds of faith we need.
Hi, and welcome to Renewed Mind Revolution Podcast. I am your host, Michelle Cacall. As always, it is my honor and it is my pleasure to come and share some tips and some tools with you that I know will assist you in becoming a better version of yourselves. This is the year 2026. This podcast is simply phenomenal, right? It shares so many tips, it shares so many tools, it talks about mental health, it's life coaching, spiritual awareness. It's just phenomenal, and it's been my honor for the past years to share this with you. So as we approach 2026, I am super excited. We are going to start off the year right. Today is January the 2nd, 2026. We have stepped into the new year. And as we step into this new year, we have a new platform for our podcast. This year, we're going to start off with some special guests that's coming up on January the 8th. January the 8th, 2026. We have some repeated guests, right? Repeated guests. But this time, they are discussing part two of their book. This is Dr. Heather Robinson. She will be here with some special guests as they share more information about education and DEI. So I'm so excited to have them again come on. When she first came on, she came on by herself, and then she came back with some special guests, and then it was a part two to that. So now we have them again, and I hope that you show them the same love that you have shown them in the past, because this will be our first guest for 2026. Listen, some phenomenal stuff is going to happen this year. We're going to have some more guests that will be entrepreneurs this year. We've had those in the past, right? Some millionaires on this show, just a little bitty show like this with this little bitty platform has actually hosted millionaires, entrepreneurs. There have been some nuggets, real estate gurus, people who have shared some secrets about holding other people mortgages when they fall into foreclosure. Do you hear me? Other people mortgages. We have had these special people on here, and I don't know if you've been sleeping on that, but that's the information that we give here on Renewed Mind Revolution Podcast, because it's just not about the spiritual, but we're dealing about the whole person. So we're dealing with the mental, we're dealing with the spiritual, we're dealing with the physical, and we're dealing with the financial. Because in order for us to feel our best, we need to cover all these areas. So in other words, this. If my body is out of whack, it affects my mind, and it definitely can affect my finances, right? If my mind is out of whack, it can affect my body. It's a scientific fact, right? And if that affects my body, once again, it can affect my finances. So it is so awesome on this podcast that we're talking about, and we'll continue to talk about, all of these different areas of our lives that affect us. Because if one topple over, the other can topple over. Right now, we have been living in an environment that has caused so much chaos, right? There's been so much fear, there's been so much hatred, there has been so much disrespect, there's been so much mood of gloom in the atmosphere. But I don't know if you had an opportunity to hear one of my podcasts, but I specifically talked about it will not always be like this. There is a podcast that I literally just took the time to share with you what was shared with me. right? Which is, it will not always be like this. This was definitely an encouraging podcast to give you a little glimpse into the future, to let you know that although right now it feels bad, and right now you're not sure, and right now this is happening and that is happening, and it can make you feel some type of way. And I mean, not just outside, but inside, right? It starts to make you feel some type of way inside. That there is a word, there is a word from the Lord, right? That says it will not always be like this. And that is where we are right now. I even share some lyrics of the song that I knew that actually emphasize that it will not always be like this. So I don't want you to start out this year, 2026, thinking about that. Thinking that this is it, this is where we are. It's not going to change. It's not going to get any better. I don't want you to think like that. I want you to know that things are going to change for the better. Let's add that into that, because sometimes people talk about things are going to change. It's going to change. It's going to change for the better, for the better. And let me tell you something else. We have had a habit over the years of saying reset. We have said, I want to reset. I want things to reset. I want to, it's very much in the church. It's reset, 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 And I want to say this to you. Sometimes reset is not good. Sometimes reset is not necessarily a good thing. But what I am asking for this time is not necessarily a reset, but I want something to be revolutionized, right? I want it to evolve. Because if I go to a reset, I'm going to probably repeat the same pattern of activities and thinking and mannerisms that put me in a place that I don't want to be. So I want to make sure that I'm evolving, which means that every lesson that I had to go through and I learned, I've grown from that. I progressed from that. I evolved from that. So let's not even say the cliche of reset. Let's not even get into that mindset of reset. Let's talk about moving forward. Let's talk about evolving. Let's talk about growing as we face 2026. So I'm so excited to be able to share with you guys what is getting ready to happen, what is happening right now, and what is about to transpire in 2026. I want you to get excited. I want you to realize that it won't always be like this, that it will get better. Even if you are in a very good place in your life and you feel like, hey, everything is working out for me, understand that it can get better. Sometimes we become contented with where we are, not understanding that God has so much more. And this is what I realized also, is that we have limited ourselves to thinking that we can only be here. You can only work in this vein, right? But there's so much more that God has in store for you, so much more that He has in store for me, and you don't have to stay in this vein. You can branch out and impact so much more and bring so much more to you in a very good way. And so let's think about that. Let's not put ourselves in a box this year. Let's have a new mindset of understanding that it's not going to always be like this, that things are going to get better, things are getting better, that you are getting stronger, that all the things that has been held up, for you is now being released. All the things that has been trying to be blocked from you is now being released and begin to flow like a river. That there is no good thing that God will keep from you or keep from me, that God will open up doors of opportunities and doors of favor and doors of grace and mercy towards you, that everything that you thought that you were too late for, everything that you thought was not going to happen because it's the time has went past too long. Let's believe on today that we think that we have to work within a certain time, restricted time and space. But we know, even from the scripture, that God don't work within our time frames, right? He does not work within our time frames. So we might feel like, God, if you would have just let this happen in my 20s or let this happen in my 30s, but now I'm getting towards my 40s, I'm getting towards my 50s, and oh my God, this haven't happened yet. But maybe you weren't ready. Maybe you would have messed it up, or you were not mature enough to handle it, or there had to be some lessons for you to learn, so that when you get to this place, you'll be able to be in good standing and hold on to it, right? And not lose it, right? That it don't have holes, in your foundation, right? And that you'll be able to hold on to what God has provided for you and what's coming up. So let's not dwell on what coulda, shoulda happened at a certain time, because he does not work in our time frame. Thank God he doesn't, because there's a lot of things that we think that we would have been able to handle at that time. And we ought to rejoice to God and say, thank you for blocking that. Thank you for stopping that. Thank you for holding that up for that particular time, because I thought I was ready, right? But I wasn't. And we do know that sometimes the enemy holds things up, right? He holds things up and try to block us from getting some things. But there are some things that, God has allowed to be on pause because we're not ready. And so now, it could be the time and the season where you are ready. And God said, this is your time. This is your season. This is your opportunity, and I need you to be ready. But let's get ready. Let's get ready. Let's get ready. Not because it's January 2nd of a new year, but because it's just the time for it. Let's get ready for everything that you feel like has been stored up, everything that you feel like that's been blocked, everything that you feel like has been spoken over you, but you have not yet seen it come to fruition. Let's see that. I mean, despite whatever you're naturally seeing, whatever you're naturally feeling, whatever you're naturally going through, let's just put that out. Just put it out. And let's focus on what the promises of God is. Our thinking is everything, and what we think, that's what we are. So if we think that we are defeated, if we think that we are broken, if we think that we're not enough, then that's what we will be. Because there's power in our words, right? There's power in our words, and there's power in our thinking. So whatever you're thinking, that's what you are. That's what you will manifest. That's what's going to come out of you. So people are so successful, and you're wondering why they never did a good thing in their life. Why they're so successful? They believe. They believe. I'm going to be the greatest entertainer. I'm going to be the greatest rapper. I'm going to be the greatest writer. I'm going to be the greatest director. I'm going to be the greatest psalmist. I'm going to be the greatest, author. I'm going to be the greatest, whatever. The greatest parent, right? The greatest I could be, the greatest entrepreneur. They believe it. Nobody, but sometimes they come across a little arrogant, but nobody can do like me. Nobody can rap like me. Nobody can sing like me. When oftentimes when you hear a rapper, that nobody can beat me, right? They believe it. They believe it. They're speaking and they're believing it, and they're saying it over and over and over again. So what you're speaking, what you're saying, what you're thinking, that is what's going to come to you. That is what's going to happen to you. That's what's going to be manifested in your life. So, the Bible tells us to think of things that are good, of things that are lovely. We're not supposed to be thinking about, oh Lord, if it's not one thing, it's another. Oh God, when it rains, it pours. Oh God, the doom, the gloom, the sad, the mad. No, it's easy to do. So we're more prone to do it because it's an easier thing for us to do, is to think about the doom, the gloom, the sad, the mad, versus I am healed, I am blessed, I am highly favored of God, I'm a child of the most high God. I could do all things through Christ who gives me the strength. I'm not broken. I'm not hurt. I'm not trapped. I'm not chained to my past. I'm not chained to the hurt. I'm not chained to the trauma. Those are things that is hard for sometimes for us to say, because naturally we might feel something different. We might feel, broken. We might feel sad. We might feel defeated, right? So sometimes it's easier for people to say, you know, what they're naturally feeling. That is easier to do versus speaking something that you don't naturally feel. But that's faith. That is faith, right? Speaking it even though you don't see it, it's not crazy. It is faith. And I want to have crazy faith in 2026. And I want you to have that too. We are going to do some great things this year. We are changing our complete platform, and this is just a tidbit of what is to come. And I hope you're excited. So tune in and expect great guests, expect a different format, expect pop-ins like this is on today as we approach 2026. We're about to do this. God bless you guys. I love you, but most importantly, remember always God loves you more. Have an outstanding day. God bless.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe. please remember to check out Michelle's bestsellers Faith vs. Fear and Breaking Family Ties. Available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.